Most people don't know that paper money has failed over 600 times in recorded history. Every single time it went to zero. And the people who survived those collapses weren't the ones with the most cash in the bank. They were the ones holding something governments couldn't print. Something small enough to fit in your pocket, but powerful enough to outlast empires. The question isn't whether the next collapse is coming. The question is whether you'll be ready when it does. Welcome to Untold Wealth Theory, where the stories the financial textbooks left out finally get told. Right now, in basements across America, in storage units in rural Kansas, in farmhouses from Montana to Tennessee, something quiet is happening. Ordinary people, teachers, mechanics, retired veterans, small business owners, are converting part of their savings into silver. Not gold, silver. And they're not doing it because they saw an ad. They're doing it because they've read history. And history, when you study it seriously, has a pattern that most people never get taught. To understand why silver keeps appearing at the edge of every major economic collapse, you have to go back. Way back. Not to last year's headlines, not to 2008. Back to a time when money meant something completely different than it does today. For over 5,000 years, silver wasn't just money, it was the money. Across ancient Greece, Rome, Persia, and China, silver coins circulated as the backbone of everyday commerce. The word salary actually traces back to the Latin salarium, the silver paid to Roman soldiers for their service. The connection between silver and real compensation is not modern. It is as old as civilization itself. But here's what makes silver different from gold in the preppers' calculation. Gold was always the currency of kings and central banks, large sovereign transactions between empires. Silver was the currency of the people. When a Roman farmer paid a debt, he reached for silver. When a medieval merchant settled an account, it was silver that changed hands. Silver was divisible, portable, and trusted at the human scale. That distinction never disappeared from history. It just went underground when the modern banking system told everyone that paper was good enough. In 1971, President Nixon did something that fundamentally changed money for every person on Earth. He closed the gold window. He severed the last physical link between the dollar and any tangible asset. From that moment, the US dollar became a fiat currency backed by nothing but government promise and collective belief. And here is where it gets uncomfortable. Fiat currencies have a historical survival rate of roughly zero. Not most of them. All of them. The Roman denarius was debased until it was nearly worthless copper. The Weimar Republic's currency became literal fuel during the 1920s hyperinflation. Zimbabwe's $100 trillion note became a tourist novelty. The pattern repeats across continents and centuries with mechanical consistency. Governments face debt. They print money. The money loses value. Real assets survive. Paper wealth vanishes. That's the pattern. And that's exactly what preppers have studied. If you're getting value from this breakdown, subscribe to Untold Wealth Theory. Every week we dig into the hidden mechanics of money and economic history that most channels never touch. Hit the button now. The modern prepper movement gets mocked. Cable news loves showing the extreme version. Bunkers, years of canned food, camouflage everything, but strip away the theatrical edge, and what you find is a rational philosophy of resilience. The idea that a secure life is built on systems that don't all fail at the same time, and inside that philosophy, silver plays a specific calculated role. Preppers aren't buying silver because they think civilization collapses next Tuesday. They're buying it because they believe in the same principle insurance companies operate on. You hope you never need it, but if you do need it, you'll be devastated you didn't have it. During the hyperinflation in Venezuela between 2016 and 2019, the bolivar lost over 99% of its value. Lifetime savings evaporated within months. But Venezuelans who quietly held silver coins, often old American pre-1965 coins known as junk silver, could still buy food, could still barter for medicine, while neighbours counted worthless bills. They were trading metal for survival. That story isn't theoretical. It happened within living memory in a country that had a functioning economy just years before. Now here's the pattern break, the number that most financial analysts quietly know but rarely say out loud. the gold to silver ratio. Right now it takes roughly 70 to 90 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. But historically, that ratio averaged closer to 15 to 1. The Roman Empire fixed it at 12 to 1. In the Earth's crust, silver is only about 8 times more abundant than gold, not 80 times. By historical and geological standards, silver is dramatically undervalued relative to gold. If that ratio reverts even partially toward its historical mean, the price movement in silver would be extraordinary. That's not fringe opinion. That's math and history agreeing with each other. This is also why preppers reach for silver over gold for everyday preparedness. It comes down to granularity. If a serious disruption hits and you need to barter for food or medicine, a gold coin worth over $2,000 isn't practical. You can't make change from gold, but a silver dime, a silver quarter, those are functional units of trade at the human scale. Pre-1965 US coins are 90% pure silver, widely recognised and divisible enough to work in real-world barter. The prepper logic isn't silver will make me rich, it's silver will keep me functional when everything else stops working. And that logic has a track record. During World War II, in occupied European countries, communities that held physical metal maintained economic activity even when national currencies became worthless. Farmers accepted silver for produce, doctors accepted silver for care. The metal's intrinsic value crossed national borders in a way that paper promises never could. Here's something worth sitting with. The Federal Reserve's balance sheet has expanded from roughly $900 billion in 2008 to over $8 trillion today. The US national debt has crossed $34 trillion. The purchasing power of the dollar has declined by over 96% since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913. These aren't conspiracy theories. These are published numbers from official government sources. None of this guarantees collapse tomorrow, but it does mean the structural pressures are real, measurable and growing. The same pressures that, in other countries at other times, led to exactly the outcomes preppers are preparing for. Here's the other dimension of silver that rarely gets mentioned alongside the economic argument. Silver is the most electrically conductive metal on Earth. It's irreplaceable in solar panels, electric vehicles, smartphones, medical devices, and military technology. Industrial demand is rising precisely as above-ground supply remains constrained. What this means is that even in a fully stable, healthy economy, silver has fundamental demand drivers pointing upward. The prepper argument and the industrial argument aren't competing. They're pointing in the same direction simultaneously. That kind of double-backed thesis is rare in any asset class. The most common framework is holding between 5 and 15% of liquid savings in physical precious metals weighted towards silver, not in ETFs, not in mining stocks. Physical metal held personally outside the banking system. The reasoning is simple. If the banking system itself is what fails, a silver ETF inside that system fails with it. Physical possession is the entire point. Some financial advisors will call silver too volatile or too niche, and they're not wrong about short-term volatility, but preppers aren't buying it for quarterly returns. They're buying it for decade-scale insurance. And across long-time horizons, that volatility becomes almost irrelevant. What matters is that silver has never gone to zero. Every fiat currency in history eventually did. That asymmetry is the entire argument. The people holding silver today aren't predicting the future. They're reading the past, and the past says the same thing it's been saying for 5,000 years. Empires rise, currencies fail, metal endures. The only question is which side of that equation you want to be on. Drop a comment below. Are you already holding silver, or does this change how you're thinking about it? The most honest conversations happen right there in the comments, and I read everyone. And if you know someone who worries about inflation, who questions where the economy is heading, who's ever asked what happens if the system breaks, share this video with them. Not because it has all the answers, but because the questions it raises are ones that history has already answered. They just didn't teach you that part in school. The only question is whether you'll act before you need to or after.